Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Faheem, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Faheem.
Good morning, America. This is the Lightning Strike, and I'm your host, Mohammed Faheem, coming to you live from WCPT 820 AM, Chicago's Progressive Talk Powerhouse. On today's show, we're going to be joined by Dr. Brian Maxwell, who is running for Senate to replace Dick Durbin, one of the lesser-known candidates, but who knows? He may be tomorrow's Mamdani for all you know. Nick Unijewski, who's running for the Illinois Senate, and also we're going to be joined by a very wonderful guest. I'll let Dali Silverberg introduce him later on to you, but he used to be a Secret Service agent. Okay, so Michael is his first name, and we will come back to you with Michael about 8:20, 8:25 in the show. And then on the second hour, we have got former Congresswoman Marie Newman, who is doing a regular segment on our show, joining us at 9:15. Maria Muzaffar will not be joining us today on the show. She is again traveling, and she said if she can find a quiet space in the airport, she would call in. Reed Bible joins us from Nevada every week, former special supervisory agent at the Department of Homeland Security, retired immigration attorney, and just a powerhouse of information. We got our regular team over here, Adriana Alvarez and Dali Silverberg, on the show with me today. And Dr. Sheila White will not be joining us. She's got some recording artists that have come into her studio for a recording session this morning. But let's get into the weeds, folks. Today, I want to cut through the noise, because lately you might have noticed that anytime a politician talks about affordability or fairness or the basic right to live a dignified life, somebody somewhere starts screaming, communist, communist. And one name that's been dragged through that mud lately is New York Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. So today, let me set the record straight, not with labels, but with clarity. Let's try to understand what is the difference between capitalism, communism, democratic socialism, and what is being practiced in our country today, right now, by the Trump administration? Fascism. Okay, let's start with capitalism. That is the system we live in right now, right? Or supposedly, where private businesses compete, people hustle, innovation happens, and yet millions of Americans work 40, 50, 60 hours a week and still can't afford rent, groceries, childcare, or healthcare. Capitalism gives us energy and enterprise, yes, but unchecked, it concentrates wealth in the hands of a few and leaves the rest scrambling for crumbs. And just imagine a guy like Elon Musk recently getting approved by his board for $1 trillion in compensation. What the heck is that? Okay, so that is capitalism as we know it. Now, let's look at communism. This word is getting thrown around like a political grenade, especially by our president, okay? The guy who really does not understand anything at all, who has not declared or not shown us his college transcripts, even to this day, who never volunteered for service for the country, Captain Bone Spurs, as we all know. He keeps on throwing this word, communist, communist, every single time now. But historically, folks, communism means state-controlled production, minimal private property, and centralized power. That's not what Mamdani believes in. He's not calling for a government seizure of private businesses. He's not calling for one-party rule. He's not abolishing markets. So let's retire the fear mongering. Enough. Now let's look at the rise of American fascism, right? Which really the Democratic Party is kind of like, what the heck is happening? We don't know. The Republicans are like, oh no, we don't know what's happening. And the Trump MAGA followers are like, oh, it's all about America first. Really? America first? Let's not forget about this, folks. This is fascism, especially as practiced by the current Trump administration. So while we are busy arguing over ideologies that may or may not even be on the table, the United States is confronting something far more urgent. This movement under Donald Trump that displays the classic markers of fascism. Not metaphorically, not theoretically, but materially. Using immigrants as political scapegoats. Mass ICE arrest and state violence used as performance indicators. Corporate and political power fused together. Direct attacks on the press, on universities, on elections, on dissent. A leader-centered movement demanding loyalty over principle. This is not the language of democracy, friends. It is the language of domination. In other words, of fascism. And then socialism, or more specifically, democratic socialism. The vision Mamdani actually stands for. A system that keeps markets, keeps democracy, but reins in the chaos of unregulated greed. It says the government should step in to make life livable, public transit that's free and efficient, childcare that doesn't bankrupt families, tenant protections, and yes, even city-owned grocery stores to ensure people aren't held hostage by price gouging. Just think about childcare. People are paying upward of $24,000, $30,000 for childcare, and the childcare workers are making less than $25 an hour in New York, which is not a living wage. So, city-owned grocery stores. In other words, the government that works for the people, not just for the wealthy. So why is this vision making the establishment nervous? Because it threatens the one thing they got above all else, power. A city-owned grocery store challenges corporate monopolies. There's one grocery store chain owner in New York who's threatening to close all his stores and leave New York because he says, oh, we have such thin margins. With such thin margins, sir, how did you become a billionaire? Okay. Free public buses challenge profit-driven transit contractors. Taxing millionaires challenges entrenched wealth. Democratic socialism, folks, does not abolish capitalism, but it forces it to answer to the people it has ignored. And that is the real threat. It's not communism. It's not extremism. It's the radical idea that regular people deserve a fair shot. So today, we are going to dive deep into this. What does Zohran Mamdani's movement signal for the future of American politics? Why is the establishment so afraid? And are we witnessing the first sparks of a new economic contract in this country? This is the lightning strike. The storm has begun, folks. It's time to take cover. And before we go further into the show today, I just want to take a quick break. And after the break, we are going to bring in Dr. Brian Maxwell, who is going to tell us why he should be the new senator from Illinois. This is the lightning strike. Stay tuned.